leftover pizza boxes.
The what?
All the boxes left over.
Diddy adopted a white child.
And the situation just keeps getting worser and worse. One of the dock workers that is on the...
Epstein had a on Miami as well. That really private, rich...
For the pizza. All the boxes.
Okay.
Make sure you...
Making desserts for our bonfire tomorrow.
Okay.
recycle the plastic like we talked about.
The little white girl that Diddy adopted.
What if one simple Instagram live exposed something that was never meant to be seen? Because when Sean Diddy Combs went live that day, most people thought it would be just another celebrity moment. Casual, controlled, forgettable. But for those who were really watching, something felt off. Not dramatic, not obvious, just wrong in a way you couldn't quite explain. And sometimes,
because they're sick and tired of hearing coming in the port screaming on cargo containers.
What's your other last name?
Ava Baroni.
Eva Baroni Combs. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful...
those are the moments that matter most. It didn't start with controversy. It started with something completely normal. Friends planning a bonfire, everyone bringing food, drinks, desserts. Conversations flowing, laughter, nothing unusual. But then, as often happens in today's world, the conversation shifted. One name came up, then a question, then another. And before anyone realized it, the tone had changed. Because once people started talking about Diddy, they didn't stop. To understand why, you have to go back to that 2020 livestream. In the middle of what seemed like a casual broadcast, Diddy introduced a young girl to his audience.
Where do you get her from? Was she the pick of the...
My name's Ava. I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Ava.
Parents that, but you're my child also, but please tell the story.
He called her family, said he had adopted her. No build-up, no explanation. Just a sudden introduction dropped in front of millions of viewers as if it were something everyone should already understand. But people didn't understand. And what caught attention wasn't just what was said, it was how it was said. When the girl began to introduce herself, she didn't mention where she was from. She didn't explain how she knew him. Instead, she led with something unexpected, her zodiac sign. It was a small detail, but it stood out. Because in a moment that was supposed to define who she was, it didn't feel grounded in reality. Then, almost instantly, Diddy interrupted. He redirected her, shifted the conversation, tightened control, and in that split second, something subtle changed. What could have been a natural, emotional introduction suddenly felt rehearsed, or at the very least, managed. Like a moment that wasn't going exactly as planned. As the live continued,
I was a party favor.
You know, people should go back and do a little research in the 90s, especially...
Yeah, and like everyone that was invited has to bring something, and then...
things became even more confusing. At one point, she mentioned being on the streets before coming into his life. But almost immediately after, Diddy insisted she had loving parents. Two completely different narratives, presented side by side, without explanation. Instead of clarifying, it created more uncertainty. Trying to smooth things over, he compared the situation to celebrity adoptions, referencing figures like Madonna and Sandra Bullock. But instead of calming the audience, that comparison had the opposite effect. Because those stories, especially Madonna's, have long been surrounded by debate and scrutiny. So instead of closing the gap, it widened it. And that's when the internet did what it always does. It started digging. Old photos began to surface. Images that showed the same girl appearing around Diddy's family long before that live stream ever happened. She looked younger in those pictures, more familiar, like someone who had already been part of that world for a while. And suddenly, the timeline didn't make sense anymore. If he had just adopted her, how was she already there years earlier? That question alone was enough to shift the entire narrative.
What does that mean?
It was a party favor. I was somebody you could take off the table.
Hey, Ava, that's like a little bit...
In the mid-late 90s or early 2000s.
Our thing that we had to bring was dessert. And then like everyone else, they bring like...
But before anyone could get answers, she disappeared. No updates, no appearances, no social media presence, no family moments, nothing. It was as if she had been quietly erased from the public eye. And the more people searched, the less they found, which only made everything feel more unsettling. Then came another moment that reignited the conversation, a leaked phone call, allegedly involving Diddy and his son, Christian Combs. On the surface, the conversation sounded harmless, talking about cleaning up, getting rid of pizza boxes, making sure plastic was recycled. But context changes everything. Because at the time, there were already reports of investigations connected to properties linked to Diddy. So when people heard that call, they didn't hear a normal conversation. They heard something else entirely. Speculation spread quickly. Some believed the language was coded, that pizza boxes and plastic weren't literal, that it could be referring to something that needed to be removed before authorities got too close. None of it was proven, but once the idea took hold, it spread fast. And once people start connecting dots, real or not, it becomes almost impossible to stop. That's when older footage started resurfacing. Clips involving Justin Bieber began circulating again. In one video, Diddy talked about spending 48 hours with Bieber when he was still a teenager. He described it as a dream, but when asked what they actually did, he avoided the question. At the time, it might have seemed harmless. Now it felt different. Then there was
like when you go to a birthday party and they have gift bags for all.
I adopted you like Madonna adopted kids and everybody.
The diddler used to...
Usher, who had previously shared that he lived with Diddy when he was young. He described the environment as intense, unpredictable, even wild. And when asked years later if he would ever allow his own children to experience something similar, his answer was immediate. No. That one word carried weight. Because it wasn't speculation. It was perspective from someone who had been there. And slowly, the focus returned to the girl, introduced without context, surrounded by contradictions, present in older photos that didn't match the official timeline, then suddenly gone. And just when people began asking the right questions, new rumors started circulating about leaks and insider access. Some online voices suggested she could have been connected. Again, nothing confirmed, but the timing made people wonder. And in today's world, questions travel faster than answers. Eventually, the conversation expanded beyond just one story. Names like Jeffrey Epstein began appearing in discussions, not as direct connections, but as comparisons. Similar patterns, similar environments, similar questions about power, access, and secrecy. By the time documents related to Epstein were released in 2026, people were expecting clarity.
Everybody that comes that have candy and toys in them, and they set them.
For white parties. Bangkok.
Sport Strike has come out and stated that they're not only striking because of being overworked and underpaid, but
instead, they found redactions, missing names, blacked out sections, and once again, instead of answers, there were more questions. So now, when you step back and look at everything together, it doesn't feel like one isolated moment anymore. It feels like a pattern, a series of events that, on their own, might not mean much, but together, create something harder to ignore. A sudden introduction that didn't feel natural. A story that didn't fully align. Evidence that challenged the timeline. A disappearance with no explanation. Leaked audio that raised eyebrows. And voices, past and present, hinting at experiences they never fully explained. None
On the table, so you're telling me at the freak-off parties.
He's been snatching up little kids for decades.
None of it proves anything on its own, but it leaves a question hanging in the air. And sometimes the question is more powerful than the answer. Because if even a small part of this is true, then what else hasn't been seen? What else hasn't been said? And more importantly, who chose to stay silent? Now the spotlight shifts to you. What do you think really happened? Was it exactly what it seemed on the surface? Or was there something deeper, hidden just out of view? Because one thing is certain. This story isn't over. Not even close.